Hi, Kat Chancellor here with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I am going to do a card using the All About Autumn suite. I was really captivated by not only the DSP that comes with this set, but some of the options that you have for creating these different leaves. You can see that you can just simply cut them out because you have the dies, but you can also emboss them with the embossing folder that comes with the suite, as well as stamping and adding some gold embossing, or for my cards I use the gold leafing flakes. So here's all the products that come with the suite. Here's the wonderful embossing folder. It's called the Distress Tile 3D Embossing Folder. You get some lovely ribbon and some DSP, as well as this beautiful oxidized copper special designer series paper. Just gorgeous. Now here's just the copper piece, and then you can see here is the Pretty Peacock and copper. Really gorgeous. Then along with that comes all the designer series paper, and this is 6x6 designer series paper, but this is going to be just perfect for our project, especially when you kind of look at all these wonderful scenes. Look at that, these wonderful autumn scenes, and we're going to take advantage the beauty of these scenes to make our card. I'm also going to take advantage of the offer for some of the new specialty paper. Now this here is part of the specialty designer series paper that's currently on order. And I also have pulled in some of this lustrous in color, and this is of course in copper clay. And this is also in copper clay. But these are just wonderful pieces that you can coordinate together to create your project. And I'm going to show you how I did that. My base card is going to be, you can either use very vanilla or you can use basic white. I think I'm going to use basic white. You're going to need 2 sheets of basic white cardstock. And you're going to need all these various designer series papers that come with the collection, and then some of these extra pieces as well, because what we're going to create is a card that's called the Never Ending card. And this is why I wanted to show you this card after I showed you some of the products, because this is a 6x6 card and this paper is 6x6, so we use the entire scene that the paper, the specialty designer series paper, offers. Isn't that beautiful? So this is the front of the card, and here's the stamp set that has these wonderful sentiments. Autumn teaches us that change can be beautiful, and the dies that we can use here to go ahead and die cut. And I hope you can kind of notice this texture piece. There's actually a neat die here that creates this kind of punched texture piece right there, as well as you know, the collection comes with a 3D embossing folder. So the first thing you do with this card is you take this card and then you open it this way. Now again, we're taking advantage of this beautiful DSP because the back is this lovely foil. So I've taken advantage of that, and I've used the Pretty Peacock side of the foil, and I've used Pretty Peacock paper along with this 3D embossing folder to create that texture, and you can kind of see it right there. And then I have these lovely leaves that I've inked, and I've used my gilded leafing to kind of do my gold. Now here you can see there's that paper that I just showed you here that I've used to cut out the leaf out of this beautiful copper clay. Then I have some other leaves. So that's that opening. Then we open it this way, and we're going to get this view. And again, I have some leaves here. Now these leaves are cut out of copper clay cardstock. They are embossed with the 3D embossing folder, and then these veins for our leaves are cut out of that specialty designer series paper with the peacock and the copper colors. And then you can see here I have a leaf, and again this leaf and this leaf is cut out of this specialty kind of paper right here. So you can really see how you can take advantage of all the different textures and patterns that are available right now. And then lastly, we're going to turn this, and this turns one more time to have a Happy Thanksgiving, and then you fold it one more time. Oh no, here you go. We're back at the beginning. Now what's nice about this card too is that this card will stand up on a mantle or on a shelf or whoever that you give it to, and it kind of stands up with this opening, which is just lovely. Okay, so this is our project. This project, I was inspired to create this project by Sam Calcutt of Mix Up Craft. So let's go ahead and get started. So as I said, you're going to need the embossing folder, 3D embossing folder. You're going to need the autumn leaves, and you're going to need the dies. Now, of course, as you know, I like to sit down and I like to do all my creating at once. So what I have here is I have some leaves that I stamped, and I'm going to do an example for you. But I stamped the leaves and I used the Pretty Peacock ink, and I used one of these dots, ink dots that come with a paper pumpkin, and I kind of smudged them a little bit, and then emboss with my heat and stick powder. Here's my heat and stick powder, and then I use my gilded flakes, and I think it just kind of gives it a different kind of patina to our leaves. You can see here we have all of these different shapes that I've already stamped and cut. Then I did when I stamped this leaf, or rather when I stamped this leaf, I stamped off, so I have another leaf that I can use for another project, because I did kind of a stamp off, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, but here's another silhouette that I can use for another card. So I have that in my little muffin tin. Then I took my key colors for this collection is copper clay and Pretty Peacock, and again I just cut out the leaves, then I embossed them with the 3D embossing folder, and you can see that it just kind of gives it a really nice effect there. And then I added the veins that were cut out with that specialty paper. So there are all my leaves. Isn't that pretty? So there's another design element, and you know this is how I like to work. I like to sit down and I like to kind of create my little muffin tin, and then I can go from there. But when you stamp, you have these framelets, right? And then you have the die for the veins for your leaves. So you have the veins and the framelets. Let me put that aside. Then you have these really pretty little leaves. This is where you can take advantage of all the different types of paper that you may have available. Here's some of that pretty copper. I use some of the DSP. I'm just going to kind of lay these out so you can kind of see. I use some of that pretty copper foil. This is just simply a leaf that's cut out of copper clay, And I really like the way that kind of gives it some extra additional texture. Now this is that really pretty paper that is, and let me just pull it out here, that is the color 2023-2025 Luster specialty paper. You can see it's got kind of a nice sheen to it. And then there's that new online offer. So you can see all the different types of leaves that you can cut out that will give you lots of design options as you put together your card. Now here you see I layered the luster paper with some gold foil, and then here I went ahead and I layered the large leaf with a smaller leaf, but it's got a pattern on it. And the key to making this card is that when you see that this opens, so you have to, one of the tricks is that you have to make sure that your sentiment is inside here so that you still see a little bit of the design when you open it up. So I kind of wanted the leaves to kind of peek through there, and then when I open it up you can kind of see the full leaves. So that's kind of the trick to putting this card together, is kind of understanding kind of where you can apply your design elements so that they have kind of show up well. Now here I kind of had to move this inside, but this collection, this bundle lends itself perfectly to this project, which is why I wanted to feature it. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and lay out some of my other so that you can see how I stamped, and then I used the gold gilding to kind of come up with that. And then I'm just going to kind of move, and then I used just the plain cardstock. First I cut, then you emboss. I mean, just a really wonderful selection of leaves, of design elements using, now this is our DSP, this is our paper from the pack, which has that wonderful Pretty Peacock foil, and then this is the specialty paper that comes with the collection, which again has that Pretty Peacock and copper foil. Here's that specialty paper that kind of has that neat plaid design, and then the luster paper, and then just some foils added on there. Here's all the different design elements that can come out of this wonderful bundle that we're going to use. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We have this lovely copper ribbon, and we have this lovely linen ribbon that when you cut it, and I have my ribbon shears here, when you cut it, you can really nicely unravel it so that you can have just a really pretty fringe edge to your ribbon. I'm just going to go ahead and just a really nice kind of edge to it there. So that's the ribbon that comes with this collection. So let's go ahead and put that aside. Okay, so to begin with, we're going to have to bring in our cutter, and we're going to cut a piece. This is a 6x6 card, so we're going to cut a piece 6. We're going to cut a piece 6x6. And then we're going to cut this in half because we're going to need 2 pieces that are going to be 3x6. So we should have 4 pieces 3x6. So that's this piece right here. So we're going to have to score. We're going to score at 1.5. We're going to score at 1.5 and at 4.5. And that is what's going to create our mechanism. And I'm just going to go ahead and use my scoreboard here. So I'm going to do 1.5. Okay, so we're going to take these two pieces and we're just going to leave those right here. We're going to take these two pieces, rather we're going to take these two pieces this way. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put, and you can see how this is constructed. These two pieces here are going to be our inside, right there, you can see them. So then these two pieces, or rather this piece, is going to be the outside right there. So we're going to take this and we're going to mark We're going to mark 1 inch there, 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 and there. I'm going to mark 1 inch there. All I'm trying to do is to mark how far down I want my tape to go, because I'm going to go ahead and grab my tear tape and we're going to put tear tape right here from that inch point to the edge. And you can tear it, but I'm going to cut it because I just want, kind of want a nice neat edge. This is kind of the most fiddly part of this project. It's kind of getting these. Okay, so you basically have top and bottom with the glue on them. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put these two like this, and now we're going to turn these, and we have one with tape that's going to go there, and we've got one with tape that's going to go there. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove our tear tape. Okay, so these two go, this one is going to go perfectly right here in the corner. Like that. Okay, so that is, so then we're going to take this piece, right? We have these two pieces like that. This piece is going to go perfectly in this corner like that. Okay. I was very heavy-handed with my scoring there. Okay, so now we have that piece there. So now we're going to take this piece and we're going to do that. Right, we had our glue along here. Now our glue is going to be along this edge. Okay, so I built 2 of these, and they're a little sticky, and the key to putting them together is that when you glue your pieces together, you kind of want to glue them so that and I should have done this at the beginning, but when you take your 6 by 6 and you cut it in half, you may want to mark those, right? Because those 2 halves are going to come back together. So it might be a better fit if you mark those and then you use those as either, you know, the 2 pieces that you can put your glue on, and then you're going to apply it. So if they do kind of right here, they're just kind of a little bit, you got to kind of move it around. But if they're a little sticky, like right there, well, then let's take that piece. Let's figure out where that piece is. Okay. And if that piece is right along the edge, over here, okay, and I can see that there's a little bit of a piece overhanging right there. So you could either grab your snips, or if you happen to have a skinny little trimmer like this, I can just hang that little piece just over the edge. Look and see, I just cut that itty bitty little piece right there. Okay, let's see. Just rubs a little bit. See, it's right here at the lip. Just shaving off just so that it kind of opens. There we go. Okay. So you can see these are just itty bitty little bits. And I will tell you, here's my mistake, okay? I put the glue all the way across, all right? Okay, and it's not perfect. I will show you this one where I used the scoring tool too hard and I cracked my paper. This is actually rather well done, but look, it's all cracked. Now, the way to avoid that is to score when you score your, and I didn't do this. I didn't do that when I was filming it. But you want to score, flip it around, and then score the other side, because this fold is essentially a hinge. It is going to go both ways. So that is how you want the fold. And so you want to score gently on both sides, and then, you know, grab your bone folder. And this one, I did have to cut a piece. You can see how that's so that this would work. Okay. So, now that we have our front and back, let's see, we have to make sure, okay, front, back, front, back. Now we begin with decorating it. Now this is how I approach this project. I grabbed my paper pack, and in this case you can see that I took just a piece. Let's say I want that piece. let's say I want that piece, and that's going to be the front of my card. Okay, so what I did is you're going to need 2 squares that are going to be on the front. You're going to have 2 squares that are going to be 2 3/4 square, and you're going to have 4 that are going to be 2 3/4 by 1 1/4. Okay, so let's grab this one, and what I did is I grab my little cutter here, and I want 2 squares, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this 2 3/4. I got 2 3/4. Two and 3/4. Okay, so in here I have my square. So now I'm going to cut my top piece. I'm going to cut 1 1/4. So it's 1 1/4. Okay, you kind of see how I'm doing that? So I'm going to put these two together, and I want this square cut. So this square is going to be 2 3/4 square. Okay, so there's my 2 3/4 square. Alright, and then this is my bottom. So this is going to be 1 1/4. Okay, and there's my scene. Alright, so let's do that again for this one. Okay, there we go. So that's our front. So there's our front. Now, what I do is, if I'm absolutely sure that's my front, which is kind of like what I did here. Actually, that goes like that, yeah. Okay. That's my front. Okay, then what I did is I grabbed this thing right here, and I'm going to run this across my front there before I glue that down. So there's our card front. Now we're going to open our card like this. And as you put cardstock on here, this is going to get a bit stiffer. You have a choice. Looking at your colors, I kind of liked, I mean, you can go with Peacock, or you could kind of go with one of these other colors. So here I went ahead and I picked two colors. So I'm kind of wondering, why don't I go with, for this card I can go with this color. Let's see, and for this card maybe I go with this color, or maybe I do the opposite. So this paper has Mossy Meadow, Pretty Peacock, Berry Vanilla, and Copper foil. So I kind of like that for that. So these are my two foils. So then my cardstock is going to be Pretty Peacock and Copper Clay. When we open this up, we're going to need these little squares, and I'm going to do those squares, and those squares are going to be 1 and 1 1/4. So I'm going to want to cut a piece of cardstock 1 1/4, 2. I have to cut it more, a little bit over 2 1/2. Okay. So I'm going to want 1 1/4, 1 1/4. This is already cut there. So let's take my embossing folder and let's go ahead and run a piece there. Okay, so now we're going to cut 4 1 1/4 pieces for this one. I have my 4 1 1/4 pieces. Now we need 2. So you got a large piece here, large foil. This large piece is 2 3/4 square, okay? But then this shares a piece right here. When you open this up, this is 2 3/4 square. So we're going to cut 4 2 3/4 squares. So there are our insides. Or you could take this and swap it with this. Take these and swap it with these. Okay, and then we can think about our embellishments, because we can have a large flower there. And we can have a large flower there. And again, we can do that. Or we can do that. And then over here, we can do that. And that's kind of our inside of our card. Let's go ahead and move these like this. And let's go ahead and glue down our insides. Okay, so these are still loose, so we're just going to pull those out for now, because now we're going to, we got this, now we're going to open it this way, and now we're going to put those there. So let's open this way, and now we're going to put that there. And we're going to have to cut 4 more of these. So let's just go ahead and put okay, so now we have that. So now we're going to open up this front. This, and this. Okay, this, and this. Okay, so this is an inside. It's going to be our back, but it's going to be an inside. So what we're going to do is we can now choose a paper that doesn't really have a pattern. So we can pick something like that. I kind of like this paper. I also kind of like this paper. So let's pick this paper for this one, and let's do that. Now you can pick for this, we can pick some more, we can put some more of that, and for this we can pick some of that. I'm using Moody Mauve and Mossy Meadow. The measurements for the back are 4 pieces, 4 1/4 by 2 3/4, and then you're going to need 2 square pieces that are going to be 2 3/4 square. Now I'm using the cardstock and embossing it, but I'm also cutting that piece of basic white cardstock about 2.5 inches square for a sentiment if you want it for the back. So now we're ready to embellish the different faces of our cards. This is the front right here, because this kind of meets right there, and then we have this. So the way I approach this is that I looked at each story. So every time you open this, it kind of tells a story. So I loved the saying, autumn teaches us that change can be beautiful. With a grateful heart today and every day, I'm thankful to have you as a friend. Okay, just really pretty. And then at the back, I chose to put something here, but you don't have to. And you'll notice that if you do that, you run the risk. It's not lined up unless you do that, in which case it's lined up. So you really want it to be kind of a eternal infinity card. Irregardless of how you open it, it's going to say something, and it's not going to be too dependent on which face you're looking at, in this case the front and back. So with that said, we're going to kind of approach each one of these face fronts as a story, the flow of that. I'm thinking that the back is fine unless you wanted to add a cardstock that you could pen a note on. You could do that on the back of your card if you'd like to do something like that. So that's an option. And the other thing is that what kind of leaves and embellishments do we want to use? So for the front of this is very, I kind of like the oak leaf, and I did also cut out some pieces with vellum, and these are the small dies. And let me just show you. They're kind of, see, they're these small dies here, and then I have the larger leaf dies here, and I went ahead and I cut out some pieces in vellum here that might be nice layering pieces for this. But I also took the vellum and I ran it through that 3D embossing folder, and it kind of gave it a really nice kind of lace, kind of a pretty lace look that might be something else to kind of add. And remember that we also have these leaves here that I cut out of the framelit, and then I embossed. It's the same process as this. So I mean, that's another kind of a nice look. It kind of echoes the pattern of this leaf. So that's something, that's another layering option to consider. So we have all these options, and this is that new online specialty paper. Kind of like that color because it does kind of pull into this Pretty Peacock. So I like this for the front, and I have an oak leaf here, a piece of vellum, and I can either pick something like that and I can layer, or I can kind of go with this. And I think this one was effective as well. I think that could be kind of pretty. So that's an option for the front. Now as we open it up here, we have a lot of the copper clay, and we can pull in something like this, which has the copper clay and the Pretty Peacock. We can also pull in something like this, which I think is very nice. I kind of like this look and really want to layer that, but then you can pull in something like that. But I kind of like this on its own. So we can have that, and then for this one, the Pretty Peacock, and this is kind of where I kind of pulled in something like that, which I did very much the same on this one. So those are kind of options for these two fronts. and you can see our leaf is going to fit perfectly right there. Then we open this up. Now whatever we put here, because when you open up this one, your sentiment is going to go on the bottom over here. So that's where you kind of want this to go, like that. So what I'm going to do, because I'm kind of fiddling here, so I think I'm going to cut a couple of more copper and I'm going to stamp. So let me just kind of move these out of the way. Okay, so we're going to pull in. I'm going to keep these on hot standby because I'm going to be cutting out leaves as I go. I'm going to go ahead and pull off my photopolymer stamps, and I'm going to use a stamping platform. Any stamping platform, it will work. In this case, I'm using my Stamparatus. I'm going to go ahead and use basic white cardstock. I'm arranging my stamps. I'm going to pick them up, kind of make sure my magnets are in place, and then I'm going to apply copper clay ink stamp, and then I'm going to take one of the little cubes from my paper pumpkin with Pretty Peacock, and I'm going to kind of add that along the edges to kind of give it a nice variegated effect. So after I have inked my leaves, I'm going to cut them out using the framelits. I'm then going to emboss the vein pattern using some copper embossing powder, and then going to cut the other leaf shapes using just simply the cardstock, emboss those with the 3D embossing folder, use the designer oxidized specially designer series paper to cut out veins. I'm going to assemble all the pieces, and then we're going to be ready to embellish our cards. Alright, so now let's go ahead and start gluing. Now this ribbon, get my cutting shears here. We're just going to go ahead and take and we're just going to pull this, and it just, I mean, look how nice it just kind of, so if you take two of these, because I will tell you that it's not as easy, it doesn't pull as nicely on that end. So I kind of like to take, see, it just, I don't know what it is, but it does pull nicely on this end. So we're going to have these two like this, and we're going to have, autumn is a beautiful thing. So let's just take our glue and cut the remaining pieces we need for this side. Couple things I want to point out. I kind of had to adjust my ribbon to make sure that it doesn't exceed the front panel there. I'm also only using dimensionals on the front of my card because this is a folding card that folds you know, many different ways. You don't want a lot of dimensionals, so most of the pieces, you'll notice the leaves are just basically being glued directly on to the cardstock. The other pieces, when you're using gluing vellum, make sure you use the glue dots. Those are the best way to get a good adhesion to your cardstock. So here you have it. This is the never ending or the infinity card, and here it just simply just took 2 pieces of 6x6 cardstock, cut it in half. I showed you how to glue that, and wonderful pieces of DSP from the Autumn Leaves bundle that's in the catalog. Just look at that, just gorgeous pieces of designer series paper. Really lend itself to this project, and I really wanted to take the time and show you how to put this together, because you can create a really beautiful autumn card that tells a beautiful story. This one, you kind of have the forest there, and you can just open it up, and using the leaves you can just kind of tell just a really beautiful story. Now this one, I have it upside down, but it's the back and the front. So I kind of learned something from this. So from this one, we went ahead and we created these two. This one again tells a beautiful story. It uses this wonderful ribbon that frays beautifully to kind of give it a beautiful fringe. Is used there. These wonderful little adhesive back speckled dots to kind of embellish it. And there is a die, this die right here, that kind of gives us this nice little piece of texture that runs across the front of our card. Then we open it up, and we're taking advantage of all of these are the back side of this DSP. The DSP has all kinds of interesting foil that we can use to tell our story. Pretty Peacock and copper clay. And then we open it this way. I'm thankful to have you as a friend. And kind of cut out the veins. And we're using this oxidized copper paper. And then you reveal where you're going to go ahead and write your sentiment. And then you close it and you have the front of your card. This one, we picked another beautiful front piece and kind of used the fringe, and you open it, and we again using the Pretty Peacock and the copper clay as our main colors. We stamped and then embossed this with copper for these veins. And then here this opens up, and you can see on the bottom we have our sentiment, and then we kind of pulled in our copper clay leaf, which has been die cut, and then it has been embossed with the 3D embossing folder, and then some of this really pretty oxidized copper 12 by 12 specialty paper. And here's our wonderful little folder that we used. And then you close it. This is the back, and you have a place to go ahead and write your sentiment, and you turn it around one more time, and boom, there we are with the front of our card. If you haven't already, please hit like. All products are available on my online store. There will be a link below in the comments. Go to my blog for all the project details. If you're looking for a demonstrator, please consider joining my team. Consider also joining as a hobbyist for that extra 20% discount, and you're under no obligation. If you are a demonstrator and you like my content, please support my channel by hitting like, share, and leave a comment. This is Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. Happy stamping.